Namaste and welcome, beloved and mighty companions, to this holy light circle, a circle of infinite light, the only thing that can be shared, the only thing we can't escape, no matter how much we'd like to escape the light or pretend that the light's not here. We start with the light because it's our identity, infinite, unchanging light that we can celebrate. And then ask Jesus to help us see any denials that there's anything other than infinite light here. The light that can't be seen by the eyes. In our direct experience is light being, starting with the light. Can infinite light be seen with the eyes? We're so used to seeing with the eyes and affiliating with sight of the eyes. Yet, can this light be seen? It's beyond sight. So I want to thank Eric. Thank you for coming to be with us, to celebrate the light and to look so directly with Jesus, so directly at light, to see that there's no fear as light. That fear is impossible. Divine light doesn't know what fear is. We can see this immediately. I've been corresponding with Eric and Hunt, and had sent me a topic. I'm open. Jesus is open to topics. I know it's helpful for me. And the topic that he sent was the Borderland. And this feels very powerful to speak of. Not speak of. We're not speaking of anything. We're directly experiencing everything that he says in this course is true. That's why the light circles is such a fast means. If we're looking every day with Jesus in the light of divine being, and by direct experience, seeing that there's only light, how can anything, any thought stand in the light of divine being, in the truth of who we are? Can we find a way for a single thought to be more powerful than the infinite light that's here that we're celebrating? So now we can experience the borderland that seems so far away, perhaps at one time. But now we can see and recognize what that is as infinite light, as we honor ourselves. So the first statement is complexity is not of God. So we can look as the light of divine being. Does the light know anything about complexity? We look in there, we see something complex, the plans to build the building, a design for life. When we look as the light of divine being, is there anything other than simplicity, actually, in the light of divine being? So we can answer this question in the recognition of divine light. In the light of divine being, honesty of God is complexity of the light. Is it of God in our direct experience? So as soon as something is complex or confusing, we can know the source. It has no source. It's an idea arising in the light that doesn't impact the light. If complexity arises, well, let's ask divine light, is complexity an idea arising? Yet is it true? Is complexity true in the light of divine being? Can we find a place where it's true? The ego is complexity. It's a self-designed smoke screen, as we been calling it lately, the asteroid belt. The asteroid belt that was self-constructed to keep those miracle impulses, what's natural to us, just rising for expression. How could it be when all he knows is one? That sounds simple. Does the light only know one? In our direct experience, does the light recognize only one? Can we find two in the light? And if we ask the light, do you even know what one is? Does the light even know what one is? Can it find a one? Does it have a counting system? 1, 2, 3. Does the light even know what a counting system is to count? In our direct experience as light beings, he knows of one creation, one reality, one truth, and but one sun. In the light of divine being and honesty of God, is there only one in our direct experience when we look? Does the light see a couple of extra suns around? Let's look, because that's the idea that the ego would convince us. There's lots of others out there. Or is that true in the light of divine being? Are there others? There may be a desire for experience of other, but does that make it true in the light of divine being? Nothing conflicts with oneness. Can we find a conflict in the light of divine being if we look? Is it looking for a conflict? In our direct experience, there's a conflict in there? Conflict requires the bifurcation into at least two. Who would be conflicting with whom? So we look in the light. Who's conflicted? Whose voice is speaking when conflict arises? Conflict can only be desired experience. We can ask the light. In the light of infinite being, is conflict a desired experience? Yet, even though we desire it, are we more powerful than conflict? What's more powerful, infinite light or conflict? Conflict is the idea that salvation can be found in conflict. So let's check that out. In the light of divine being and honesty to God as infinite beings, can salvation be found in conflict? In more than one? Is that possible? Or is salvation the admission that divine light is all there is? What is truth in the light of divine being? Nothing conflicts with oneness. How then could there be complexity in him, in God? How is there complexity in God? Can we find that? Complexity is an idea. Complexity is the desire for choice between. Yet can we see how impossible choice is in the light of divine being? If the divine being's not choosing, who's choosing? If there's only one, what is there to choose between in our direct experience? Can we find a choice in divine light, in divine peace? What is there to decide in divine light? The one who decides is the one that does not exist. In the light of divine being and honesty to God, is the one who decides the one that does not exist? Is the decider even a possibility in divine light? Someone who decides? Can we find this one? The one who decides. This is the desire for a dream. We'll ask the divine light, and the light of divine being and honesty of God is a decider part of the dream of separation, desire for experience of separation, and hear the answer. For it is conflict that makes choice possible. So choice, conflict's the desire for choice. Choice is conflict. They're both the same thing. Are they the same? Yes. In the light of divine being, let's ask, Is conflict what makes choice possible? And is choice what makes conflict possible in the light of divine being choice? See, it's a choice for death. That's the only choice there is choice for death. Because it's a choice to not know ourselves as divine light. How can the light choose? What would it choose between? How can light choose between anything? Would it want to? It has no desires. Does the light have any desires to choose between anything? The truth is simple. It is one. Is there anything more simple that we've ever known than light? Can we find an experience within our entire consciousness, anytime, any place, anywhere, any other than that is any more simple than divine light in our direct experience? Can we find that? Is a story ever simple? In our direct experience as divine beings. The truth is simple. It is one without an opposite. Does infinite light have an opposite in our direct experience? Infinite light, looking around in there, let's find the opposite, because this is the belief that rules us, that there is an opposite, that there is an other, that there is a choice. Yet in honesty of God, in the light of divine being, does this exist as truth? And how could strife enter in its simple presence and bring complexity where oneness is? Can we try to bring complexity into light? Like with everything that we have, let's bring complexity in an argument. Strife. Can strife be brought into light, infinite light, the light of God, the light of divinity? Even if we try to bring strife in there, can it be done? The truth makes no decisions, for there is nothing to decide between. In the light of divine being, does the truth make any decisions whatsoever? Does heaven know decisions? Can those be found in our direct experience as infinite light beings? And only if there were, could choosing be a necessary step in the advance toward oneness. This is a good sentence. So it says, truth makes no decisions, for there is nothing to decide between. So in the light of divine being, we can see, look in there and light, can we find a decision? This is where all the strife is. This is the weariness. When we're feeling tired, we've bifurcated and we're warring inside of ourselves as 2, 3, fragmentation. All the parts are warring, having a war. So we're tossing around asteroids inside of ourselves, trying to find peace among the asteroids, when the only peace is one. We're going around going, okay, now which asteroid am I going to ride on today? Out of those 4 over there is going to be a better asteroid to the left. And the reason why follow spirit is spirit knows there are no choices, yet in the world where we're so wound into many, it's teaching us that we don't have a choice to be divine, because we are divine. Do we have a choice in the light of infinite being to be divine? in our direct experience? Can we find a way to, in there, not to be one with the light? Looking around, all the experiences we've ever had from start to finish, the moments our eyes opened as a baby, has the in truth and honesty of God, has the light always been there? It doesn't argue if we're making choices. It's just here. Is it here now, the light of divine being? The truth makes no decisions, for there is nothing to decide between. So decisions are untrue. How can a decision be true in the light of divine being? We can ask. Can any decision we've ever made, has it ever been true? At any time, in any place, has any decision we have ever made been true? In the absolute nature of being, divine being. Because divine never decides anything. It doesn't have anything to decide because it doesn't know anything to decide between. So is all decisions in our direct experience in the dream of separation? As we look. And only if there were, could choosing be a necessary step in the advance toward oneness. So let's ask, is choosing a necessary step toward oneness in the light of divine being? Can choosing ever bring us closer to divine being in actuality and truth? Can we find a way, we make a better choice, we'll be more light? Because that's what salvation belief is through choice. Salvation belief through choice is if I make a better choice, I'll be saved. As soon as we see that, the gig is up. And think through our lives in honesty of God, how many decisions have we made with that we haven't, like we talked about this, make a little chart and try to figure out what's better and how exhausting that is. We've all been in this light training business for a long time, and we can see how exhausted have we gotten through just trying to choose between two things in a catalog. What to buy? Is this true? But the Spirit can repurpose that so that by letting the Spirit decide for us, that He leads us to see that there are no choices, that divine light makes not a choice, and to relax. Relax. No choices, ta-da, today for you. Divine being for you, one for you. Here it is, one. Here it is. It's all being provided in totality. Everything is whole and complete in the light of divine being. What is everything leaves room for nothing else? Does the light leave room for anything else? In our direct experience as light beings, can we find a little else squeaking in there, a little otherness anywhere? Yet the belief that salvation is in otherness is a desired experience. In the light of divine being, is otherness a means to salvation in truth? Having an other? Or is it hell? It's like instantaneous hell. Choice is actually hell. Let's ask. In the light of divine being and honesty of God, direct experience, is choice the creation of hell? And just see what the light says. The voice where God says within. We can read about it all we want until that drops in. We're in death throes constantly. Well, we can ask the light, are we in the death throes constantly as long as we believe there's a choice? Because it's the belief that there's a choice not to be divine. That's what a choice is. I am choosing to not be divine being. We can ask, is a choice a decision not to experience myself as divine? because divinity doesn't know what choice is. Yet is this magnitude beyond the scope of this curriculum? Not anymore. Because the mind's ready. Nor is it necessary we dwell on anything that cannot be immediately grasped. Yet let's just ask in the light of divine being. That's why Jesus can be called the second coming. The new covenant, a new covenant. Is it possible as light beings to grasp this? To see that light has no choices to make? As light beings. And it is a problem if we don't make a choice, actually. Let's look at that in the light of divine being. Can we find a place where making a choice is not where it's a problem if we don't make a choice in the light of divine being? There's a borderland of thought that stands between this world and heaven. It's not a place. And when you reach it, it is apart from time. As the light of divine being in our direct experience apart from time. This is the borderland. But it's but a brief experience because we're so habituated to choice. Here is the meeting place where thoughts are brought together, where conflicting values meet, and all illusions are laid down beside the truth. In the light of divine being are all conflicting values, all illusions laid down in the light of divine being. Can we find an illusion that's true in the light of divine being? Where they are judged to be untrue. Can a single illusion in the light of divine being be found to be true? Stand before the light. Can we find that? Borderland. This is the journey's end. That's sounding really good. Here is every thought made pure and wholly simple. It's really good to look in the divine light at the simplicity of divine light because we're so used to involvement in that complexity. Here is sin denied and everything that is received instead. This is the journey's end. We have referred to it as the real world, so we can look, is the light of divine being the real world in our direct experience? And here the answer, divine light will tell us what the real world is. Because we can all hear. The real world is infinite light. And yet there's a contradiction here in that the words imply a limited reality, a partial truth, a segment of the universe made true. This is where he's going really deep, yet because of all the mind training, all the light training that we've been doing, can become very obvious. This is because knowledge, the light of infinite being is knowledge, is true knowledge. We can ask, in the light of infinite being, is the light true knowledge? Does it have any knowledge, like a little library of information in there, in our direct experience? So there's no storehouse of knowledge. It's a different kind of knowledge. It's not information knowledge. It's just itself. It's just what is God's knowledge. Is the light God's knowledge? I can ask in here. So let's look with the light. This is because knowledge makes no attack on perception. This is really helpful to look at deeply. Does the light attack perception? Yet does perception exist in the light of divine being? Now that seems like a contradiction, yet this is what Jesus is pointing to in the acceptance of divinity in the Borderland. It's not, we can transcend perception for a time. There's perception and light without there being conflict, because perception is unified. It's no longer being used to prove that the light does not exist. So it's no longer, it's being used now in spirit through the expression of divinity. And there's no longer using any kind of perception, taste, touch, smell to go, there are many. It doesn't say that, it just perceive, it's perceptive wholeness. We're no longer saying no to ourselves as divine being through perception. You over there, you're going to attack me. It's whole perception. Doesn't know what attack is. It's just perceiving. There seem to be things, but it's not deceived. There's no deception in it. They are brought together and only one continues past the gate where oneness is. So for a time, there's perception. But we can see as we go through the gates of heaven, is perception going to stay? Is perception, does divine light have perception in our direct experience as light beings? Can we find that as a direct experience as light beings? Light has no perception. Unborn awareness, choiceless awareness, it's not a perception. Does the light perceive anything in truth? It's not looking around for something new to taste or touch or smell. Is it? Maybe we can look in the light of divine being. Is it looking? Just is. Salvation is the borderland where place and time and choice have meaning still. So salvation isn't the complete washout of place and time and choice have meaning, yet it can be seen that they are temporary. There's no longer a choice to deny divinity. So the only choice is to cease to deny. So the idea of choice in the divine light has no choice. It doesn't choose to say no to itself. Or temporary, out of place, and every choice has been already made. Does divine light see a choice to be made? The one choice that we think we have is to pretend like we're not divine light when we already are. So really, is there a choice to be divine light? It's already done. No choice, divine light. We can see this in the light of divine being. Do we have the choice not to be light? And here, No. Game over. Cannot outrun the light, cannot hide from it, cannot get under the couch, cannot, still here. Nothing the Son of God believes can be destroyed. But what is truth to him must be brought to the last comparison that he will ever make. Can't destroy what does not exist. Can what does not exist be destroyed? But what is true to him must be brought to the last comparison that he will ever make, the last evaluation that will be possible, the final judgment upon this world. It is the judgment of the truth upon illusion, of knowledge on perception. Okay, let's go deep. We've already heard this today. We know this already. No surprises, but it's really good to marinate right here. It is the judgment of truth upon illusion, of knowledge on perception. And this is Jesus in quotes. It has no meaning and does not exist. The judgment of truth on illusion. So in the light of divine being and honesty of God, does perception exist? And we can hear the answer of the light. No. It has no meaning. Does perception have any meaning in the light of divine being whatsoever? Can we find the light of divine meaning writing, making a little label and sticking it on perception to say that it means something? So infinite light and perception. So it's unlabeled. No labels. Oh, here you go. This is not your decision. That's pretty clear. So we can ask, is our decision, even if we decide and we try to decide to make perception real, can we make perception real in the light of divine being and honesty of God? Can we decide that there's perception, even if we want to pretend like it's there and play in consciousness? Can we find it to be true? It is but a simple statement of a simple fact. Is it a simple fact? This is going all the way, might as well. Let's not leave anything uncovered here with Jesus, shall we? This is why we have light circles, because the ego would run in terror rather than look at this directly. No perception. But see how light that is. If perception is unlabeled, we'll just explore it a little bit. Let's have some fun with this. Why not? We're going all the way. Right? Because we can all see this. We're divine light. So, you know, are we going to be intimidated by some idea we have of ourselves? Or are we going to go with the Jesus? And he's saying, it's but a simple statement, a simple fact. And because we're a divine being, he's saying you also can recognize it. In fact, you already know it. So let's go for what we already know. It is but a simple statement of a simple fact. Perception has no meaning and does not exist. So whenever we're miscreating, we're making perception have a meaning. Remember, I give everything I see all the meaning it has for me. Yet we know at the same time it does not, because we can look in the light and see that has no meaning. Oh. But in this world, there are no simple facts, because what is the same and what is different remain unclear. So we'll just clarify this. Because Is the light of divine being absolutely clear? In the light of divine being are things very clear. And in the world is everything unclear. We can see the difference because we're light beings, so we can see this. Everything's unclear in the world. It's a mud bath in there. It's designed to be a mud bath. The only thing that's clarity is infinite light. That's it. Ta-ta. In the light of divine being. So the only thing that's the same, the celebration of oneness is sameness. Ego, oh, don't make me. It's sameness. And the light of divine being is everything the same. In our direct experience as light beings, is everything the same. And what is different remained unclear. See, it's the egos to muddy that up and say, oh no, I'm not light, so I'm going to live in the unclear zone of differences. A million different differences. I'm going to go swimming in there in the asteroid belt of differences. The one essential thing to make a choice at all is this distinction. So here's, okay, here's the distinction. The distinction between what is clarity, infinite light, and what the world delivers. Confusion and differences. Does the light know any differences? Infinite light in our direct experience, looking around in there, infinite light. We find a difference in there. Doesn't know what that is. That's how come it just celebrates, because the sameness, it's celebrating sameness. Now that's perfect happiness. Differences is the idea of choice, things to choose between. But to the ego, that's going to sound horrible. But that's why the world was made, to pretend like there's differences. And herein lies the difference between the two worlds, between the worlds. In this one, choice is made impossible. In the light, does the light ever make choice possible in our direct experience as light beings? Can we find a way to be choice? Choice in there again, we just check in. It's good to check in because now we have contrast. We have contrast between a world that the light within does not know what choice is. And then when we invest in personal identity, which is a choice factory, consciousness is a choice factory of differences. In this one, choice is made impossible. In the real world is choosing simplified. In the real world, choosing simplified. So that's another reason why Jesus points us toward purpose being the only choice. What's it for? Always purposefully choosing for divinity rather than against it, what the ego's doing. So we can't really, we already are divine, but as long as consciousness is playing as though it's not, he's given us a function. Focus on identity, focus on the light, follow the light, follow the light, follow what's true rather than the false, which is the false is the world of choice. Salvation stops just short of heaven. For only perception needs salvation. So we can go, we've looked at this before, it's handy to look again. In the light of divine being, is light of divine being looking around needing salvation? But that which believes that perception is true and uses perception to deny divinity, can we see in the light of infinite being and honesty of God, that does need salvation. Because perception has been used as a means to deny wholeness. Heaven was never lost and so cannot be saved. In the light of divine being, can heaven ever be lost? Yet who can make a choice between the wish for heaven and the wish for hell unless he recognizes they are not the same? This is why this light training is so valuable. And mind training, what Jesus started with, now it's light training, because light training also provides the contrast between heaven and hell. What we thought was heaven before, which we thought consciousness is actually, the concept of consciousness is to make it believe like consciousness is heaven, that sensory experience is heaven, and that light is hell. So it flipped. In order for it to survive, it had to flip it. It had to flip it and make it opposite. And then we're afraid and terrified of light, so we can avoid ourselves, avoid the light. Yet who can make a choice between the wish for heaven and the wish for hell unless he recognizes they are not the same? That's what Jesus is really honing in on, New Covenant. How to see heaven and hell are the same through the decision for an experience to deny heaven. And through light, because we can see from the content infinite light, it's not making an investment in perception. And if it is the only thing that's true. In the light of divine being, is light the only thing that's true in our direct experience? This difference is the learning goal this course has set. So now he's landing us squarely in the power of divine being to recognize itself as light, to look at the denials of light and honesty of God, and cease to deny that light is all there is, and to cease using perception as a way to say, oh, I'm lost, I can't find myself. It will not go beyond the same. Its only purpose is to teach what is the same and what is different. So it's teaching what's the same, infinite light, pointing to the light. Forgiveness washes out what's different. All the differences wash out. So the inevitable confusion as all the differences of the judgments, which is the desire to experience differences, wash out, the asteroid belt of ideas and change and deny the miracle wash out, and the miracle mindedness continually focus on infinite light and following the light, leaving room to make the only choice that can be made. Cease to deny. Cease to quit saying, because we've already just established we can't choose not to be light. It's impossible. We've tried every which way from Sunday. We've looked at that. We can't not be light. We have to be light. In the light of divine being, we can see we can't be light. We can't choose not to be light. So the only choice we can have is to choose to quit denying to be light. Nothing left. What's left? There's no basis for choice in this complex and overcomplicated world. This is what's really hilarious. This is when we really get this, deep, like Jesus let this settle in the heart so totally that they're just, because it's such a freaking illusion when we really, really look at what choice is. In the way choice is made in consciousness, in the beliefs about what's better, one thing during the other. This is the direct path to hell. Even the choice which magic to use. Like am I going to use this magic or that magic today? I love that. That was such a great lesson. Walking through a health food store, Whole Foods. And it's like lined to the ceiling with choices, right? Billion of choices. Am I going to get magnesium, magnesium, or I'm going to, I was a physiologist, so I loved all that choice. Let me just figure out which, as a scientist, I'm going to figure out which choice for which scientific formula is going to work. And then we start looking at that, how are we making choices? What's that based on? What reality is that based on? Well, first of all, we know from seeing that we're light that there are no choices. So we can play as though we have choice and seemingly walk over to that counter and, okay, there's a problem in a body. And so let's try magnesium sulfate. Let's try, because I know I played that. I played starting with, we played it all. Juicing, raw foods, the play in consciousness. I just know one of these things is going to work. I tried every whatever. And Jesus says it's not a problem, you know, magic. It's the only problem is its delay. You know, it's hell. It's its own little version of hell. And hell is always denial of divine being. And now he's saying, look, and we talked about this yesterday, you are powerful enough that when you're willing to see the miscreation that you miscreated this. And we looked last night, are we powerful enough to look and see that that magic is part of the choice game? The game of wanting choice. That's what magic is. And see this divine light making any choices in there to try to be a better divine light. Choice is a future. You know, I want a better future, or it's avoiding the past. If I just, you know, you could watch it too, because we've been, you know, we better through this mind training, just watching how the mind starts working, and it'll pull up that old memory. You know, it'll dust it off and try to run through it again. And if I could have just said it differently, you know, that memory, if I could have just done it differently, the trick of the past. Meanwhile, the light's here, not making any decision. It must be okay. For no one understands what is the same and seems to choose where no choice really is. I'm so glad to be looking at this. Thank you, Eric. This is a call out for you for bringing this. For Jesus, show me any desire below my level of awareness that a choice can be made. That I desire experience of choice, because choice is a massive, we know this. Choice is a direct trip to hell. Do not pass go directly to the misery of the belief that there's actually two things choice be in, and we can actually go walk down that. And it just look, you know, the world is just, Whole Foods is the microcosm of the world. To walk down those shelves and go, oh, I think this is better, and that's better, and this is better. And then we live inside that belief with hope. See, we're going to take a pill and then we're going to hope that we're going to feel better. And it's going to look better in form, because another belief under there is that this placebo is going to work over here. And through the power of consciousness, we're going to pull in a scientific study that's going to help support the belief that that's going to work. That's how powerful our minds are. That exact scientific study that's just needed to support the belief is going to show up right when we need it. And then we'll argue, and then we'll have a big argument with 20 people about, look, I know this is going to work. I know I can lose weight with coconut oil or whatever it is. Jesus saying you've got a presupposition that you need to lose weight. You see how that's wound into there, that you're not perfect as you are. You know, all the underlying, we drill it down. Doesn't that feel exhausting? It's just happiness talking about it not being true. Where no choice really is. The real world is the area of choice made real. Let's read this. The real world is the area of choice made real, not in the outcome, but in the perception of alternatives for choice. That there is choice is an illusion. And we can see this in the light of divine being. Divine being, light, doesn't have a choice, doesn't do choicing. It's not choicing, does not have a functionality. Push this button and you, in the light of divine being. We look in there, no choice. Yet within this one lies the undoing of every illusion, not accepting this. It's true perception. We really look at perception. Perception, choice is an idea that perception, we can perceive something as being more real than something else over here, when divine being is sameness, infinite sameness. Can we not see the insanity of all the choices? Like, there's no basis for choice. In fact, there just isn't. To make it, it's like, it's pure relativity, trying to make something relative to something else when it's abjectly impossible. Because where would you start? Which the first belief that gets nailed into the ground is true, when beliefs change all the time. But in the perception of alternatives, so it's a perception that there are alternatives to choose between. So perception, using perception to try to prove that choice is true, that hell is true through perception. Because there's this object, and somehow I am saved if I choose this object versus that object. So salvation through, I'm going to be in a better situation. We can see how the mind works on that. Next time a choice comes up, we just kind of watch and observe it. You know, let's just observe how the mind's working. We get really curious. What's it trying to get in that choice? And you can start to feel the getting of choice. That's why the ego starts screaming at anything that seems to take away choice. Because the belief in salvation through choice, so can show up in spiritual communities, you know, where you see, that's, I can see that. Now I fought against it myself, so I get it. But where there seems to be, that's why they do like kind of a lead follow, where one person seems to be telling another person to do, but it is only to see that there are no choices to be made ever whatsoever. If it just feel how you feel, if somebody came in and every day they were going to tell you what to do all day, you could just feel those hackles go right up your back. You know, until you see that when you're listening to the one that's up there, to Jesus, and following that voice without exception, it is pure happiness, because you're not ripped in shreds from trying to make choices anymore. It's just, okay, Jesus, what do I do? All right, good. That was fast. Do I want this one? Yes or no? And just strips out the idea of choice. So the fast means, again, that's why community can be very fast, because it's going to bring up every single place where you believe there's choice. Every place we believe there's choice is hell. So we're just looking at how hell is created, miscreation, and then forgiving all the idea that choice is there, so that we see the sameness, that happiness is divine light, is sameness in all things. So following the light is to see that there is no choice. That's where it's headed, that there just isn't a choice. But that autonomy idea is to try and prove that choice is true. And then we feel like we're in hell all the time. I'm ready to give up choice. It's so much happier. Like, Jesus, what do I do now? Okay. You know, who's the one that knows? Even if there was a choice or made, how would we do it? We make it best of all conditioning, old conditioning. Gosh only knows where our choices come from. You know, it was really helpful for me because I think I told this story before, but it's just a little choice example. It was helpful. I was coaching someone and he was so mad. He was like ripping mad because she wanted him to buzz cut his hair because he thought it looked, oh, that looks horrific. Because he has, you know, the, I don't know, maybe he had that kind of that kind of ring of fur, you know. Okay, so, but when he really looked at it, you could see underneath it, you know. So what are we bucking against? Do you see what I'm saying? When Chuck, this comes up and the wife goes, oh, really? What are we really bucking against? And it turned out that his father used to make him buzz cut. So we think we have a choice. I am not getting my hair cut. I have a choice. No, you have a choice because you're owned by your old conditioning. You're convinced by old conditioning from the past that you have, first of all, you have a choice. And we're like little puppets to old conditioning. Meanwhile, we're asleep. Choice is sleeping. The idea of choice is sleeping. I'm asleep. I need to have a choice. And you can see how strong that is. You know, I feel like my choice is being taken away. Just feel it. Like if anytime we feel we get upset, how many times embedded in that is someone's, you, wherever you are out there, are stealing heaven from me. You're taking my choice away. You know, someone's out there taking my choice away. No, they're showing you that you believe choice is real. That's all they're doing. That's all we're doing for each other, showing each other where we believe choice is real, so that we can be at peace without any choice whatsoever. It's divine life. Amen and hallelujah to the borderland. Let's spend a lot of time there without defining what perception is. Just be light. Amen. Love you. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, brothers.